In early February of 2022, NBC Sports Bay Area reported that James Wiseman, also referred to as Big Jim, was able to join his team, the Golden State Warriors, in practice after almost a year of recovering from injuries. He brings devastation to opponents on the court like a knight on a chessboard. So you'd better believe that rivals of the Warriors are shaking in their sneakers. Here's everything worthy to know. It's been a long, rough road for Wiseman. James Big Jim Wiseman, starting from his rookie season with the Warriors, was limited by a variety of factors and freckled with inevitable disappointments, including an abbreviated offseason due to the pandemic, a training camp absence due to illness, and of course, that terrible knee injury. Plus, although Wiseman's athleticism assured him a smooth transition to the NBA game, it is common for young players to spend most of their time refining the mental aspects of the game in their first few seasons. Wiseman wised up to this fact and told reporters, "These players are effing smart because they're vets. They've played in the league for 8 years. I'm a perfectionist, so if I have a bad game, I get really down. My teammates pick me back up. I be too hard on myself sometimes. The intelligence of these basketball players, sometimes y'all don't see it in the games, but on rebounds, they be hooking me up and stuff like that. Little tricks." He went on to explain the little trick, saying, "When I guarded Damian Lillard, he came off the screen and I was going full speed because I was trying to block his shot and he stopped right in my tracks and drew a foul. I was like, how the hell? I was going super fast. He's already in front of me and he stopped and got the foul." Little stuff like that. It's the small details inside the game that makes players great. Yes, his road was rocky, and the journey has been troublesome, but Wiseman doesn't give up. Big Jim looks great. When the Warriors went through a non-contact practice on the 5th of February at San Francisco's Chase Center, they were finally joined by a teammate whose presence always brings a heightened sense of curiosity and anticipation to the activities. In this case, using the term heightened can be literal, as Wiseman is a 7'1" center drafted with the 2nd overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft. Unfortunately, Big Jim has not played since April of 2021 when he underwent surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his right knee. As the Warriors went through the first 53 games, Big Jim had been confined to a comfortable seat only useful for moral support for his team, cheering, and simply being a spectator. Here's what his team has to say. They say time heals all wounds, and perhaps that's definitely the case with Wiseman. When cameras and microphones were set in front of him, Coach Steve Kerr commented about Wiseman's return, saying, "He practiced today and he looked great. We didn't have any contact, but he practiced with the guys. He picked up everything really quickly. This being James' second season, he's got a foundation of knowledge that's going to be really important for him when he does get back on the floor." Prior to Big Jim's return to the practice court with his teammates, he was engaging in individual floor workouts. Seeing him back on that practice court among his teammates is exciting for the franchise. However, there is no set projection for game activity. So, die-hard Golden State Warrior fans shouldn't crack open the champagne just yet. Hold your bets. Guard Damian Lee, who averages 12 points per game, also went through ACL repairs. But his were worse. He had to manage the pain and agony of surgery on both knees, but he was still inspired by what he saw from Wiseman. When asked about it, Damian Lee responded, "That was a good step for him. The injury rehab process, everything of that nature, I understand that. It's something I've gone through in the past. So for him to just be back on the court, it was great. Just to see him happy, see him in good spirits." So, what are the projections of Wiseman's true return? Initially, Wiseman was optimistically projected to return about 6 months after his surgery in mid-April of 2021. The best laid plans of mice and men. Very often, what we plan doesn't become reality. Wiseman's case was no different, as his true return was then pushed back to November, and then, after some swelling, into December because of a second procedure. Now Big Jim is projected to truly be back on the court in March, participating in full contact sessions. From that point, he could be cleared to play within 2 or 3 weeks. Of course, sports journalists asked for opinions from Wiseman's mates. When they caught up to Lee, he said, "I'm definitely not the one to put a timeline on it, but it's just good to see him back on the court and have that smile." Coach Kerr later said that he no longer would offer projections on Wiseman's return, something he did several times earlier this season. So in the brief interview, he avoided doing so. Nonetheless, he did express how he was clearly impressed with Wiseman's performance during the team practice. Coach Kerr was quoted saying, "All the stuff we did today, he was really quick to pick up and looked really good. He was happy to be out there, and we were thrilled to have him." What's the next step? According to NBA experts, the Golden State Warriors have a unique issue to deal with, and it must be addressed for future glory of the franchise. How will they integrate James Wiseman into their winning formula? Fans might have noticed that Wiseman is the tallest player on the roster by a few inches. To cap off his incredible size, he also has a wingspan measuring 7 feet 6 inches. With his incredible size and magnificent athleticism, Wiseman is able to reach up for shots that many others would not even dare to contest. As a matter of fact, this often ends in jaw-dropping goaltending violations. Plus, with Big Jim's soft touch and a solid approach to his shooting mechanics, he's on the brink of getting over 30% from beyond the arc. One strategy is for Wiseman to emulate Javale McGee. Javale McGee, a 270-pound center forward with a height of 7 feet flat, became popular with the Phoenix Suns. Realistically, Wiseman is not able to add much to a contending team outside of his unreal athleticism and reach, similar to McGee. This idea has been passed around since experts noticed Javale McGee in 2016 when the Warriors signed him to play off the bench. It's definitely a fact that McGee played almost the exact role that Wiseman can be expected to play. When Javale played for Golden State at a rate of around 10 minutes per game, Javale was used as a lob threat on offense and a shot-blocking big on defense. This was pretty much his same role when he played in the 2020-2021 Olympics. Without a doubt, Wiseman could play the same role. And due to the insane amount of focused talent on the Warriors roster, not gaining many minutes might surely be in Wiseman's future. Warriors' talented roster could actually limit Big Jim. Kevon Looney, considered an undersized center, was key in helping the Warriors win a second straight championship. And currently, he's been fantastic with the starting lineup, having games where he slowed great post players down despite being small-boned. Nemanja Bjelica, known for his brutal passive aggressiveness, has had an impactful season even though his efforts often go without proper credit. Although his dominance has decreased since the injury to Draymond Green, he has been adapting and building up his solid performances as a power forward. Speaking of the talented centers, Green has also played impactful minutes, introducing the small ball option that made his team so formidable in their 5 consecutive finals appearances. Age, however, limits Green's ability to play center consistently, so this might be exactly where Big Jim can prove vital. Wiseman can take over for some of Looney and Otto Porter Jr.'s minutes, shifting Bjelica to the 4 and taking the 10 extra minutes that aren't occupied by Looney, Bjelica, or Green. This has been hinted as the best strategy. In summary, James Wiseman could play the aforementioned JaVale McGee role, rising up for lobs that nobody else can reach, setting solid screens to open up a driving lane for Steph Curry, and intimidating smaller players by protecting the rim with the rightful confidence. However, with a coach like Steve Kerr, it is nearly impossible to predict rotations or roles for players not in their core 4 lineup. Their talented roster consists of many different styles of play. One game, James Wiseman could see up to 25 minutes of playing time, followed by a game with only 5. This is the normal way of the Warriors' rotation, which has been proven effective to always keep their opponents dazed and confused. Whichever way the chips fall, one thing is definitely certain. Kerr will find what works best for Big Jim Wiseman.